Yesterday, we have discussed about the unipolarity, bipolarity, multipolarity, what is superpower, what is Cold War, and the post Cold War. So, all these things we got to know. So, today we will talk about the power here. So, our next chapter is power, national power, and balance of power, and the collective security. So this is the today's topic, and later we'll see another topic as well. So now what is power here? What do we call as a power? Every state, every nation state, it has a power here. So power is in nothing but some kind of authority that we get, and the power of some kind by through that by means which the state here it is implementing with that power only, it is implementing its policies which are domestic as well as the foreign policies. Okay, so with the concept of power we see, with the concept of power we see this, where the Hans J Morgenthau. Okay, Hans J Morgenthau. So Hans J. Morgenthau, in his book called Politics Among Nations, in his book, he defines about what is power here. So he says this political power as a psychological, you mean it's something related with the mind here. So the psychological relation between who exercise it, which means this is A man, this is B man, who this man is having the power, or this man is having the power, who is exercising the power here. Okay, so who is exercising the power, and those on whom it is been exercised here. So now this is a man, and this people are whom this man will show the power here. Okay, the man who is having the power and the man who is getting the power here. Okay, so with the concept of power, if we see this political science, it offers very different definitions of power, where it refers to the relationship among the political units. That units as nothing but the political parties, the governments, and international organizations here. So this power it is based on the relations between two political units that we can say whether it is A, say whether it is B. Okay, so where A is possessing the power, whereas B, which make this B to do something it desire, and it can prevent the B also. It will stop the B here. Okay, and from doing it does not desire here. Okay, this is called as power. So, with the types of power, if we see, there are few other concepts of power as well, which they are saying that it is the state's capacity, it is the instrument, and this power is a what? Power in the international relations here is a struggle here, okay, which is contesting here how you are competing with the nations to be that much powerful nation here. So, with going with the types of powers, we are having few types of powers here. Joseph Nye. Okay. Uh, Joseph Nye. Okay. He has given power classified into two forms. Okay. Two forms, which is hard power, okay, and which is the soft power. Okay, hard power and the soft power. Whereas this hard power, within this hard power, it is nothing but the tangible resources. Tangible is nothing but that which you see, you can feel, you can touch here. So, what is those? That is the size of the population, the geography, the national resources, military force, and the economic stability. These are all are the hard power of a country here. So this hard power, it can be described as the military that is been intervening here, and the coercion, how you are doing through with some kind of diplomacy, and the economic sanctions. Sanctions are nothing but the resources or the funds or the revenues that have been sanctioned, that has been applied by the state here. Okay. So this hard power is also known as command power. This is also known as command power. And which, why it is a command power, it the way the resources which are tangible in nature, that shows that it has a very command in there. So if we go with the soft power, it is the intangible. This is tangible, this is intangible. Okay. So with this tangible and the intangible things, and where in the intangible, that you only can feel, you only can relate it. Okay, there is nothing that you can touch here. So what is that? That the culture, okay, that you see, culture, political values or the political ideology, foreign policy, and the institutions, these cannot be touched, right? This can only be felt here. So this soft power is where how a country shows its soft power through its culture, showcasing its great culture. You can take example of India. India is very great, very rich with its heritage, very rich with its culture. Obviously, on the international platforms, it will showcase its power there. So both the hard power and soft power, these are used by the states to influence the other power. So with the India soft power as a culture, it will obviously influence the other states, and also with the territory of the size or population which comes under the hard power, that also may influence the other states here. So then there is national power. So what is then coming? We are done with the power here. Now we'll go with the national power. So what is national power here? So this national power, it is where the nation uses the name itself tells you it is talking about the nation here. So the nation use power to, so that it could secure, it could protect its own interest in the international relations here. So this national power is both a means and it is also a end here. It is achieving its power. It is a mean to achieve the power. The ultimate end is the power in the international relations. And this national power, it is reflected in the total of nations' capabilities, both the tangible and the intangible elements that we can see. And with the natural factors within the country, there might be a lot of natural factors. You say the rich natural resources, okay, and with the socio-economic, political, and the psychological factors. So this is a very dynamic, which means it keeps on changing, it is keep on increasing, or it is keep on decreasing, that we can see here. So with the elements of national power, there are few elements which are the natural elements, scientific and technological elements, okay, political elements, sociological, and the ideological elements here. So within this, we see natural elements. The name itself tells that it is something related with the nature here. So within that nature, when we are talking about the natural that has been obtained by itself, so there is a geography, the population, which are the tangible that you can see, you can feel. Okay, those are the components of the power that we can see. So this main thing of a country that shows is its geography. Now imagine that is a X country. The country's geography is one of the determining factor in its national power, that we can say. So it is most stable and the constant factor here, which the geography here. So all they contribute to the defense and the national power here. And also, um, yeah, with the raw materials like natural resources, we are having the fertile soils, the minerals, the petroleum, the rivers, seas, oceans, forests, hills, deserts, raw materials. These are all what this strengthen our nation here, so that it is very rich with its resources. Okay. So ultimately, population or the manpower, it is most precise element of the nation that we can see. Next is the scientific and the technological elements. Obviously, this is one of the tangible components that we can touch here, which is the technological and the industrial capacity of a state, the agricultural capacity, the military strength. That also shows how capable the elements of the how capable the state it is of with the advancements in their um, technology as well. Next is the political elements. This is intangible because it only can be felt here. So it includes that how the type of government is, whether it is democratic, whether it is republic, whether it is parliamentary, whether it is presidential. Okay. So the bureaucratic, how strong the government also depends here. So the bureaucratic organization and efficiency, the wisdom of the leadership and the quality of the diplomacy also are the factors of the political elements here. Next is the sociological and ideological elements. And with these elements, that if we see this ideological and the national moral, the national character, yeah, obviously the character of the nation also matters here. The structure, the social structure, how it is been, sorry, how it has been structured, those ideologies, their ideas, how they are forming the basic parts, basic elements of the power here, and how this is helping the government to be stable here. With the ideologies, with the ideas only, it makes a government to be stable, to be enough static here. Next is the external and the other elements. So this also goes with the reputation, how good name it has, the reputation, the image, the foreign support, international strategic position, intelligence. These all things also contribute to the nation's power. So we are done with the national power. Next, we'll go with the balance of power here. Okay. So what is balance of power? You should be balancing the power here. So with this, this has been seen from ancient times in the international relations that we see, but it got prevalence from the 15th to 19th century in Europe. So this balance of power has various meanings. With the balance of power, if we go, so the balance of power is nothing but a condition or a description that shows the character of a situation where there is a rough equilibrium. Equilibrium means how equal it is. Equilibrium of what? Equilibrium of obviously the power among the nations that we can see here. So here each nation it tries to maximize. You mean it tries to broaden its power here in the comparison to the other. Now this state wants to be more or this state wants to be more, it depends upon them. So yeah, we also can see the balance of power in the Kautilya's Mandala theory, which is his in his books called Ardhashastra. It explains how the state has to maintain its power with its how it has to maintain its friends and how it has to maintain its enemies and keep the balance between those enemies and the friends here. Okay, so then coming with the characteristics of the balance of power, it has few characteristics which means a system. This is a as this balance of power, it is seen as a system because it is a conduct. How the conduct is nothing but the behavior of the international relations in the multi-state world here. So there is no one single or the by state that we see, but the present society is a multi-state world. Next is it is the characteristic is equilibrium. So with the equilibrium, it is called equilibrium is nothing but the equality or the balance that you are maintaining, which shows the character of a situation where the power relationships among the nations, how they are equalized here. Next is the policy. Yeah, it has to balance of power, it has to safeguard the policy in the multi-state system. Next is temporary, because with the change of time and the conditions, obviously the balance of power will also change here. The intervention, so this the balance of power should be preserved here, it should be protected here with the active intervention of the states here, with the if there are any alliances or if there are any counter alliances, it should maintain the balance of power here. Then with the status quo, so there are nations who are benefited generally, and there are disadvantages, and those which are disadvantages also who oppose such. So history has witnessed lot of wars that we can see, which are getting the motivations, contrary motivations of the states here. So with the methods, with the models of the balance of power, we see there is a simple balance. Okay, military power is concentrated in the hands of two or a power center poles. It is called as simple power, and it is also called as bipolarity, which we have already discussed yesterday. And then there is multi-balance. It is dispersed with the many other widespread here with the states. Power is spread with the many other states, and this is very complex balance that we have to see here. And then there is local, regional, and the global balance. So in terms of geographical coverages, these balances, they may be that may be regional, within the region, within the local. So balance is local if the local situation between, say, the India and Pakistan, that becomes the regional here. And if it is within an area or an continent, say if it is a area or continent bole to Asia is one of the continent, Europe is one of the continent here, so it is a global balance. Then there is flexible and rigid balance. So in the monarchical days, when previous long back days, when the when all these constitutions were not formed, prior we had all those prince kings and all. So in those days it has made sudden and very radical, very change shifts in their alliances, the balances, which were very flexible there. So with the as soon as the nation states came up into existence, their ideologies were also different, and there was a greater economic independence, and the patterns of the balance of power, they had become very rigid, which cannot be changed here. Next is the um, next, coming with the balance of power and the building military alliances. How you are balancing your power and how you are making your military alliances here with a collective defense or to make a checkmate to the threat of the aggressor nation. So here you see one such after the two world war, we see the NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and the Warsaw Pact during this post Second World War are the classic examples of this balance of power and the maintaining military alliances here. So before the World War, the balance of power, if we see, until the end of 19th century in the Europe, during the 17th century, the this dynasty, it was ruled from Austria and the Spain, that has threatened to dominate whole of the Europe. So during the 30 years war, which is from 1618 to 1648, it has included Sweden, England, France, and the Netherlands, which has defeated the rulers of the Habsburg Empire that we see. So, a broad coalition of the European states, including the Britain, Russia, Austria, and the Prussia, were a series of major battles that have defeated the who they have defeated here Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Okay, so under this system, the Britain has played a major balance role, and peace largely that has been prevailed during the 19th century that we can say. So the balance of power in the 20th century, if we see during the World War One, there was an integrations that has began, how people with the other countries they started uh, integrating with the other what say with the other countries. And one such alliances was the Britain, France, Russia, and the United Nations against the Germany and Austria-Hungary. So this integration has continued till the World War II. So then after that, we observe that the fastest nations, the Germany, Japan, and the Italy, they have also opposed this alliances of the Soviet Union here. So yeah, the East European nations, they got allied. They got in Allied is nothing but you are shaking hands with the another. You are being a party with them. Yeah, and that is called as the one of the military alliances that was led was the Warsaw Pact during the disintegration of Soviet Union in 1991. So after such disintegrations, this power balance of power has become very much irrelevant now, because it's very becoming a complex issue in the present scenarios that we can see. So now we will see what is collective security here. So, with the collective security, it is the mechanism of preserving peace, how you are restoring the peace here, based on the principle that the aggression, which means if a country is going with a war by a nation against the another nation, that is considered as an aggression against all other nations. So, it is based upon a principle of what on the one for all and all for one here. Okay. So, this attack can be regarded as an attack on all nations here. So, the term this collective security, it implies two things. One is collective refers to the goals of security, okay, collectively. So, yeah, it implies two things, which is one is collective and another is security. Wherein this collective, it is the means to method to achieve that goal of security here. So, with the origin of the concept of security, we see it has been traced back from 1902, when in the 1902 we see there was a US president, Theodore Roosevelt. He has declared that the incumbent on all civilized and orderly powers to insist the proper policing of the world here. So during the First World War, the what happened, it was to work for a device by where the aggression by one nation, if one nation is waging a war here, can be checked by the combined forces of all the nations. If the aggression, if somebody is doing, if a country is waging a war here, so the B, C, D, E, all these countries can check the aggression of the other nation here. And so, the US President Woodrow Wilson, he was a key figure behind the movement for a project for the collective enforcement of peace here. So, this was accepted at the Paris peace negotiations, which has that Paris peace negotiations has led to the Treaty of Versailles here. So, that idea of collective security that was accepted and adopted in a very practical sense that we can see. So, later United Nations was also founded on these principles of collective security only. So we are having few characteristics of the collective security. It is an approach to preserve that international peace through the crisis management. How in a war-like situation, or if there is a problem-like situation, how you are making the peace here, and it accepts wars among nations which are bound to occur here, and the aggressions which are cannot be totally eliminated from the international relations. Another characteristic is the collective security believes that the violation of international peace by an aggression in any part of the world, if we see, and all the nations, those are committed to pull their power here, to get their power and the resources for tackling effective steps, whatever step that they can do to maintain the peace, they can do it here. Okay. It regards this aggression or war. Both are the same here as the enemy and not the state, because that is resorting to a war or the aggression here. Okay. So if we see collective security to international organizations. So the League of Nations, which is the first institutional effort in 1919 to practice this, to get this collective security, and this was a part of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. So Article 10 to 15 has established provision in Articles 10 to 16 of this legal covenant. It deals with the collective security system here, and likewise, the league has remained very weak to deal with the collective security problems because of its failures. And as because of its failures, this has led to the United Nations, which that United Nations was promoted with the international peace and security on the basis of collective security only. So again, there is chapter 7 of the United Nations charter. It talks about the title. It reads as action with respect to threats to the peace here, breaches of the peace and the acts of the aggression. Okay, however, whatever the critics says about the, however, the critics again, there are critics who talk about the collective security. Those are very disappointing because there are few drawbacks. One is the Cold War politics in the Security Council. Next is UN Charter provides the state to, it has a right to undertake war as a measure of self defense. Okay, then there is an absence of permanent international peacekeeping force, and there is a UN Charter. Okay. Although there is a very big, elaborative UN charter for implementing the system, but there was no provisions has been given in method of termination. And there is collective security that ignores the fact that all the nations are not active here. So all these reasons are a drawbacks of the United Nations collective security here. So if we see, this concept of power is very much complex here, and where the balance of power and the collective security, these are the two conceptions of management of power that we see. Okay. So our next unit is the peace and security, disarmament and arms control. Okay. So this is the last chapter for today, and we are done. So, what is peace here actually? What is peace? Why are we striving for peace here? Because for long back decades, our world has faced history has seen lot of wars here. And that wars has led to lot of discrimination, lot of destruction within the national resources, within the other things. And it has made the politics upside down, and there comes the major power into existence, the power politics that was going on. So all this, there was a chaos-like condition at the time of Second World War. So there was a loss of life of humanity as well, right? So if we see this, peace has always been humanity's highest value here, and this peace has to be acquired in different nations in different types here. So there are few types of peace here. So John Galtung, okay, Johann Galtung. Johann Galtung, he is known as the father of peace studies. He makes a differentiation between negative peace and the positive peace here. Okay, negative peace and the positive peace. So, what is negative peace? In the negative peace, you see there is no violence and there is absence of war between human and the groups. For example, you see that there is a ceasefire. After the war is done, there should be a ceasefire, which is called as negative peace, and this negative peace will ensue here. Okay, so within the positive peace, is we see it is the integration of human society, how you are integrating. So it is positive because it is where you see when you are clubbing hands or when you are shaking hands and when you are being a part of, when you both are being into the partnership here. So it is nothing but there is a mutual respect and cooperation among the people, and it manages conflict very positively here. Okay, so with the meaning of security, if we see, now what is security? Security is a natural consequence. Okay, it is a natural result of the peace and the first condition of the peace that we see. And if the security is in danger, peace has to be sacrificed here because it is a threat to the nation here. Security is providing you the protection here. If that security is only in threat, then the peace, how can you maintain, how can you be nice with the peace here? It is, we cannot have that. So the state may seek to increase its own security because it wants to protect its national boundaries and the people as well. Okay, so with the notions of security, there are two groups, which is traditional and the non-traditional. So within the traditional, it is in the traditional, it deals with the internal security, and this traditional security, it gives priority to the protection of nations territory here. Now if it is India, and it is its territory, all this part is a territory, it gives protection to this territory here, for the preservation of its national sovereignty as well. So this traditional security has four components. One is it has to choose to surrender only when it is actually confronted with war. Okay, secondly, it has to prevent war from the defense, through how, through defense here. And then there is thirdly, third component is it has the balance of power. Fourth component is alliance building here. Okay. So then there is human security. This is a non-traditional view of security, which is also called as human security or a global security. Okay. Human security. So with this human security, if we see global security or a human security, it has been a challenge to the traditional security during the 1990s, because there were lot of threats that we have seen. Global threats in the case of global warming. There has been global warming is a very challenging situation even in the present contemporary times as well. So in the international terrorism, this is one of the challenging thing, and the health epidemics. So till now, the present health epidemic that we have seen is the coronavirus, right? So there was AIDS, bird flu, swine flu, coronavirus, and so on. All this has been led here. So the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, in its Human Development Report of 1994, it has shared that another dimension of security, which is known as human security. Now here with the epidemics also, we need the security, right? With the challenge with the terrorism also, we need the security. And also with the climate change, sudden climate change, if there is a sudden climate change which is leading to the floods here, that floods which are the natural calamities, obviously it will lead to a loss of human lives, and from them, from those floods also, we need the security, no? So okay, so this is what known as freedom from want and freedom from fear for all. Okay, freedom from want that we want. So there is a want here, and we need freedom from that want, and it is freedom from fear here. Okay, we do not want to stay in a terrorism like situation. We need freedom from that. Okay, so ironically, if we see all the nation world, it is still relying upon their nuclear weapons as a means of security. Okay, so now we will see what are the nuclear proliferation and the arms race, which is the nuclear weapons that we say. So, in the nuclear proliferation and the arms race, so the nuclear weapon. Now, what is nuclear weapon? It is an explosive device which has the releasing of energy, which is with the splitting of atoms, called the fission, and joining of very tiny, tiny particles of atoms together, called as fusion. There is fission and the fusion. Okay, so these release lots of radiation, and that cause a lot of sickness. And the main impact, yeah, there are mainly impact. There will be a longer impact because of a big blast. So then there is a two main types of nuclear weapons, which is atom bombs, and then there are thermonuclear bombs here. Okay, so with the nuclear weapons, these are the destructive, which is the most destructive weapons on the earth that we see, which will cause lot of biggest damages on the every not only on the land that we say, And you see, the first atom bomb that has been tested was in the Alamogordo in New Mexico on the July 16th, 1945 by the Atomic Bomb Missile Development Program in USA, which is named as Manhattan Project here. So that has involved the $2 billion and the labor of some 3 lakh workers to make that atom bomb. Another was with and the U.S. president at the time period of U.S. President Truman. He has um, we see he has bombed on the two cities of Japan, which is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Till now, those two cities are been suffering from that impact here. So the period since 1945, it is came to be known as nuclear age. From that period only, we see that there are nuclear weapons around the world here. So one is the vertical nuclear proliferation, which means that there is a manufacture of more nuclear weapons by five major nuclear powers. Who are those five? USA, UK, USSR, the present Russia, France, and China. So many countries like Pakistan, North Korea, Iran, Israel, they have developed their capability to make their nuclear bombs as well. So this is called as horizontal nuclear proliferation. One is the vertical, this is the horizontal here. So as they have tested their hydrogen bomb, and from then onwards, the arms race. That arms race, you are back. There will be a race, right? Race, the formal race that we do. So similarly, there was an arms race. Now, what is arms here? The nuclear weapons, the bombs, the missiles, and all, everything. So every country was behind into this arms race. Now we want to bring this arms. Now we want to bring this arms. So this has been started between the USA and the USSR with the development of lot of nuclear weapon technology, nuclear power countries that has been evolved here. And then there was given target which is known as intercontinental ballistic missiles ICBMs. So the speed and accuracy of this ICBMs was so much overwhelming. Then the warning systems are also so much vanished here. Okay. So presently, if we see, there are nine countries: USA, UK, Russia, China, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea. They are all these countries. They have the nuclear weapons here. So now the war has become a phenomenon of total destruction here, which is caused by this nuclear weapons only. Okay. So next we'll go with the disarmament here. So what is disarmament? Which means now you are back of armaments. After back of armaments, then there is elimination of those armaments, which is called as disarmament here. So according to Hans Morgan too, he talks about this disarmament is the reduction or elimination of certain or all armaments for the purpose of ending the arms race here. Okay. So the efforts, what are the disarmament efforts? Is one is the Treaty of Versailles, 1919. Next is the League of Nations. Next is the Washington Naval Conference that has happened from 1921 to 22. Next is the Geneva Protocol, okay, which is the happened in the year 1925. Next is the World Disarmament Conference that has happened in 1932, and the next is the Four Power Declaration 1945. And yeah, going on, there are many: the Atomic Energy Commission, the Baruch Plan 1946, the Grumkyo Plan 1946, Commission on Conventional Armaments 1947, the UN Disarmament Commission UNDC 1952, the Atoms for Peace Plan 1953, Open Skies Proposal 1955, Rapaki Plan 1958, and then there is Biological Weapon Convention 1972. Okay, all these are the post-war efforts towards the disarmament only, even in the outside and even in the inside of the League of Nations and the United Nations, though they may not has been that much successful, but there was a mutual distrust and suspicions that has come up way in the disarmament agreements that we see. Again, there is arms control. Now, what is arms control? Control is how you are controlling your arms here up to a limit, how you are setting here. Okay, according to again Morgan too, it says like regulating the arms race here. So Okay, you are having these many nuclear weapons. Hello, hold on. As of now, you are having so much. So let it stop till now. Volker, in short, that we can say it's nothing but the regulating them for the purpose of creating a measure of military stability here. So it is defined to include what the unilateral, bilateral, and the multilateral measures here, so that it could restrict the military establish it could restrain or restrict the military establishment of a nation or the nations through international national interactions here. So from after 1945, the arms control described as to reduce this armaments between the nuclear superpowers. So according to Colombia and the Wolf, arms control measures can be categorized into two. One is the arms reduction, one is the arms limitation. So, what is arms reduction here? Arms reduction, it is how you are mutually agreeing upon the arms level of a nations who are involved in an agreement. So, A and B are involved in one agreement here. So, this will reduce arms reduction maybe between the two countries or on the regional basis or worldwide basis. Okay, so then there are limitations here between the two or more countries designed to limit. Okay, now within the design, you cannot go more than that design of the weapon here. It is limiting the weapons, okay, their impact and the prevent of its accidental outbreak. Accidentally, also, if we see there are few weapons, it gets outbreaks, and then there is arms control that regulates to the acquisition, the development, and the spread of nuclear weapons here. Okay. So after that, we have to, as there is after the Cold War, what happened? This arms control measures has shifted its efforts so that it could prevent from the proliferation of nuclear weapons and the missile technologies that has led to the other countries. So now we'll see with the arms control measures. Now, what are the arms control measures? These are aimed to reduce the danger of war. So if say few wars would be in very danger because they will be having lot of weapons here and with the missiles here, so that would be a very big threat to the land there and also with the people. So there are few, they have to reduce the danger of the war has not to be in too much of danger like situation and minimizing the negative impacts of the war on the human beings here. Okay, so there are few arms control treaties, which is Antarctic Treaty 1959, Hotline Agreement Treaty 1963, Limited Test Ban Treaty 1963, Outer Space Treaty 1967, Treaty of um, Tlatelolco. Okay, it is Tlatelolco. This Tlatelolco Treaty in 1967. So this is the Latin American Nuclear Free Zone Treaty. Okay, then there comes the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT) in the year 1968. That has came up on that was signed on 1st July 1968. Okay, so where the countries have tested and manufactured their nuclear weapons before 1967, they have to allow to keep their weapons, not to give up their right to acquire nuclear weapons, but it bans some non-nuclear weapons from the states who can get or acquiring the bomb and puts many restrictions even with the conduct in the um, nuclear research as well. And then there is Seabed Treaty 1971, when there is strategic arms limitation talks, which is called as SALT 1, that has came into existence in November 1969. That was signed in Moscow on 26th May 1972. And then there is Anti-Ballistic Missile ABM Treaty in the year 1972 we see. Then there is Threshold Test Ban Treaty, which is also known as Vladivostok Vladivostok Agreement. Okay, this treaty was between USA and USSR so that they could establish a nuclear threshold here. Okay, then there is peaceful nuclear explosion treaty came up into the year 1976 between USA and the Soviet Union. Then there is Environmental Modification Convention happened in 1977 in the May, that was signed at Geneva so that they could bring complete disarmament to the prohibition of this military. And then there is again the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty 2, One was in the year 1972 and another was in the year 1979 here. This was signed at the period of US President Jimmy Carter and the Soviet leader Leonid Leonid Brezhnev, who has signed this SALT Treaty 2 in Vienna on 18th June 1979 here. And then there is Treaty of Ratnango 1985. This is a South Pacific Nuclear Free Zone Treaty. Okay. Then there is Missile Technology Control Regime MTCR 1987, where it has encouraged its 35 member states to restrict their exports of technologies. And then there is Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty INF 1987. It was between the Soviet Union and the United States for the destruction of launched ballistic and the cruise missiles. Then there is Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty 1 here, which is called as START 1. This was signed between USA President George Bush Sr. and USSR President Michael Gorbachev in Moscow on 31st July 1991. And then there is next Treaty 2, which is against the START Treaty, Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty 1993. This was signed by USA President again the George Bush and the Russian President Boris Yeltsin on 3rd January 1993 in Moscow. Then there is Open Skies Treaty, March 24th, 1992. It has established a regime of unarmed aerial observation flights here over the state territories. Then there is CWC 1993, which is called as which is the Chemical Weapon Conventional Treaty. Okay. So that came up into existence in 1993, exceeded by 181 states. Then there is agreed framework between the United States of America and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, 1994. Okay. And then there is Treaty of Pelindaba, 1996. This is again African Nuclear Weapons Free Zone Treaty. And then there is NPT, Review and Extension Conference, that has happened in May 1995 here. So then there is Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty in the year 1996, and where this treaty was approved by 158 by 3 votes with 5 countries here. So India has voted against the treaty because it had the discriminatory in its nature. Then there is Mine Ban Treaty 1997. Then there is SORT, Strategic Offensive Reduction Treaty, in 2002. This was signed between again the Vladimir Putin and President George Bush. Then there is International Code of Conduct Against Ballistic Missile Proliferation. Okay. The ICOC 2002. This is an agreement between the states how they have to conduct their missile trade and bolsters. Then there is International Convention for the Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism 2005 here. Then there is Convention of Cluster Munitions December 3, 2008. This is a treaty through prohibition and framework of action. Then there is new START Arms Reduction Treaty 2010. This was signed between USA and Russia on February 5th, 2018. Then there is Arms Trade Treaty June 3rd, 2013. This has established common international standards for regulating the convention arms here. So then there is one more treaty, which is the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, July 17th, 2017. It prohibits the use and threat of use, the development, production, manufacturing, and execution. Okay. So all this we see, the criticism against these treaties is that they have imposed restrictions on the missiles here. That is, they wanted to prevent only the quantity, how much. Okay, quantity means numerically, quantitative expansion, but not with the qualitative expansion here. Okay. So with it, we got to know today the main problem of the world is with the problem of war only. It's not the conflicts between the nations that has been increased, but also there are armaments and the weapons which are available now, and that has also increased the dangers. Every country now, they are one or the other country says that we are having a nuclear weapon, we are having this weapon, that is where that weapon. So it is creating a little danger here. So peace is generally conceived when there is no war-like situation, which is often called as a negative war here. Okay. So then there is with the USA and Soviet Union, those are signed a number of treaties between the arms control, including the SALT 1, SALT 2, START, NPT, CTBT. So there are some, while there are few measures that has been achieved, some small access, some has ended in its failure. Okay, but still, states are relying upon the nuclear weapon so that it could provide the security. The present day world here now, what it matters is the security here. Okay, so thank you for today's class.